Unsyndicated presents What the Puck with Sean Baligian.
Stinking bats. What's up? How you doing? You enjoying the playoff action? Welcome to my house. We got Mike with me. We got the coach, Kirk Hunter. Are you enjoying the game? Were you surprised? Let's start with this.
Yeah.
Were you surprised with the goal change for Vegas?
I love it.
Do you really?
I love it. I love it.
As good as he was, because like I told you, I stayed up the other night fascinated at how well he was playing.
That actually concerned me. When I made my bet, I took Vegas to win this series. Adin Hill was just injured, I think, a couple games before that, and I was hoping he'd be back, and my bet was late on him being back. I think he's taking nothing away from what Logan Thompson did and how he played in the first couple games, especially the overtime game that you're talking about. I'll take Adin Hill over.
Okay.
Anytime.
No, that sounds fantastic. It is What the Puck, by the way. How you doing? Blake already said, like, I have to tell people it's What the Puck. We're just watching hockey at my house. I'll tell you about like what we smoked and grilled earlier today. What we're doing today is we're all here watching hockey. There's no other way to say that. And you're more than welcome to jump into it. 2-1 Dallas on top. And I think a lot of people kind of wrote Dallas off for dead when they lost those first two games. To go all Lee Corso on you guys, not so fast, my friends.
No, not at all. What'd you think, Kurt?
No, are you 2-0? I mean, it's not even close.
Right. It's the kiss of death when that home team loses home ice advantage and they lose at home. And to do it twice, but if you watch the games, you watch the series, they're almost identical teams.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, how does the East win the cup with the way they play and the teams that they have coming through? Slow, plodding hockey against big, physical, and fast. This series, the Avalanche, now that they've gone through, and Edmonton coming your way. How is the East going to handle that? I don't think they stand a chance.
Speed kills.
And size.
Mm-hmm.
They're big.
Yeah.
For how big these two teams are out here on the ice that you're watching, Vegas and Dallas, they move so well. It is actually shocking when you're watching.
You know what's interesting about this, and we'd love to chat with you guys. Again, I'll explain to you what we got here in just a couple minutes. But you know what's interesting about this is I had a great time at calling the alumni game the other day. And look at Vegas just tied it up just like that. Just like that. That's what it's all about. But I had a great time at the alumni game, and Aaron Ward, who's done some NHL broadcasting, Aaron Ward was adamant that the New York Rangers are the team to beat. And I told him, I said, Wardo, like, I'm a fan. Love you, bro. I don't agree. I don't think the Rangers are a quote unquote playoff team. I really don't.
Oh, not a playoff team, or not the team to beat in the playoffs?
Not the team to beat in the
Okay,
playoffs.
that-
Or a playoff team. I really
All
don't.
right.
I really don't.
I you know me talking about Adin Hill earlier. I'm always going to go to goaltending, especially when we get to the playoffs. That's who I'm giving chances and not giving chances to. Shesterkin, anytime.
All right.
Shesterkin in the beginning of the year this year, no way. Shesterkin's going to get a ton of shots. Rangers always give up shots, but he's going to make enough saves to make them winnable. But who do I have advancing next round? Carolina.
Now, let me say this. Let me take a screw to it, and Kirk, you can see if you agree with me or not. I don't think the Rangers have the sandpaper. I really don't. I think there are too many guys on that team, Panarin, that when push comes to shove, I see them wilting. Like honestly, I do. And I you know what's funny, and I know I told you this, Mike. I was at the Ranger game when the Rangers and Wings played. And I literally watched that guy in the last minute and a half of the game stay on the ice at a crucial point in time with the empty net. And that guy wasn't more than 10 feet inside the defensive zone at any time.
The entire time.
And I don't want that guy. I'm serious. I don't want that guy. You could tell he was just looking for that pass. I'm going to be the hero. I'm going to get the empty netter. And like, I'm sorry. And you know, as a coach, I don't want that guy.
Look at me. Look at me. I scored the last goal.
So
Yeah, you don't want that. Like you said, you don't want that. You want the guy that's going to be in dots, mucking it up, trying to get the puck out. You don't need to go,
So with that, we'll go to the guys that they brought in over the last little bit to counteract that. Your Rempies, your Barkley Goudreaus. Is that enough? The Trouba, the Trouba train, is that enough to get gritty and to get dirty in there?
I don't think so.
I don't either. I don't. I think other teams I'm telling you, Wardo, like, if this gets back to you, I like respect the guy's opinion. I think he's tremendous at his job. I thought he was overvaluing the Rangers a little bit. I told him too. I said honestly, best of 7 series, Florida Panthers, New York Rangers. Who you got? He goes Rangers all day, and I was like, I'll take Florida.
Well,
I will. I'll take Florida.
This is what I'll say. Great guest to the show.
Mm-hmm.
Great guest who is on there. I think we just have a topic for a conversation for a new show with Mr. Ward.
Okay.
I think we get a hold of him. We get him on there. It'll be interesting because you're going to know right away with the way Carolina plays if the Rangers have that game in them.
Yep.
Because Carolina plays very similar to Florida, all sandpaper, and that is the East. Their sandpaper is slow. How fast the sandpaper is here is incredible. It's so different. I was watching the games out of town, and I just was telling Sebi, I was like, my God, Seb, they're so big and fast. Like I couldn't, you know me, I'm usually in bed. I couldn't go to bed. I was watching. I'm like, this is, I mean, when you see guys that big going that fast playing this game, it's quite a scene.
To your point, and this is what I want to ask both you guys, okay? And you guys out there, I don't know if you do the same thing that I do, okay? I was watching Vancouver and Nashville the other day, and I literally sat there watching that game and laughing to myself, saying, the Detroit Red Wings, as is, could not hang in a series like this. They could not. They're not there yet. There's been progression. Make no mistake about that. But to me, I'm thinking to myself, I'm watching these two teams fly, and I'm thinking to myself, they couldn't hang. They just couldn't hang in a series like that.
And you can't even point to, some people may say, well, Nashville's down. Nashville could, if Nashville gets the breaks and plays 5 minutes longer in a couple of those games, that series is over and Nashville wins that series, and I'm collecting a bet.
Yep.
To lose, they lose 3-2, and they gave up 11 shots in game 3. And then in game 4, I believe it was game 4, you lose and you gave up 3 goals in the last 2 minutes of regulation and the first 2 minutes of overtime to lose that game. Hey, so don't give me the Wings would beat Nashville. They're not there.
No.
Hey, and Saros is an NHL goaltender all day long. I'll take him. But again, so why did Mike make that bet? Saros. I bet on Saros over. I don't know who's even playing for the Canucks even more.
So I want to ask you guys, as Cole Caulfield joins us, and no, you can't have any food, Minnie the Moocher. I want to ask you guys, is there a team that jumps out to you right now? If you had to sit here on May 1st and say, I still like this team, because I'm going to put both of these guys on the spot right now, and I'm going to talk about a team that Mike and I liked a month ago, and then I got really, really cold on, but all of a sudden they kind of look like that team again, and I think you know who I'm talking about. But right now, and Mike, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
There's one team. You can only put money on one team to win the Stanley Cup in 2024. Who are you taking? You're still taking the Avs. Okay.
I agree.
You're still taking the Avs.
Yep.
I'll tell you what. The way that they fixed themselves literally on the fly in that series was unbelievable. And I go back, what was it? It was the first period. of game number 3, where I'm not joking. I'm thinking to myself, and I was texting you guys actually, and I was going, can you believe how bad they are defensively? And then all of a sudden it was like, seriously, it was unbelievable.
That series flipped on its end to the point of Winnipeg came into that series and in game 1 playing the defensive hockey that led them to give up the least amount of goals in the NHL this year. And whatever Bednar did, they figured it out. And you just went 5 goals a game against Halibut. What does our buddy Joe got going over here?
But Joe, what's up? Livonia's finest. You want a question? I'll give you a question. WTF is up with all these BS penalties. My goodness gracious.
It's ruining my bet.
It's ruining playoff hockey. I'm sorry, it is. It is.
So when you look at the teams that this just isn't about my bets, but it is about my bets. Blake can attest to that. Is that what is ruining them is the penalties. And again, you can't put it all on the refs. You got to play the game the right way. But there's one thing the LA Kings couldn't do if they stood a chance in that series, which I thought they stood a chance. I've been talking about them for a while, is that they had to stay out of the box. Not only are they not staying out of the box, Edmonton's power play looks like they're playing against freaking mini mites. I mean, but it is. There's way too many. We're watching the game here. We're almost on the first period, but there's been 4 power plays already.
The Joe, to me, and this is something that you saw really about 15 years ago, and it is amazing to me how they just have zero interest in letting the game breathe and letting the game dictate itself. And the infatuation with the specialty play and the infatuation with seeing the power plays, it's mind-boggling to me. I don't get it. That was something I know for a fact a league edict came out. I know for a fact, you're going to have to trust me when I say this, and saying that they wanted to see more penalties being called. And I'm not joking when I say that. I know that for a fact. Adam said Vegas for me. Cornstalker said is a big fan of Vegas. I don't know how I feel about Hill starting tonight. Flashbacks to a less toxic Robin Leonard versus Fleury. Praise Bettman. They won a cup last year. He was unbelievable to watch. He really was. I mean, that overtime game the other night, the fact that it went to overtime was a miracle. I mean, Dallas was all over them. See, Ben, you picked my team. Ben said Florida just looks like a complete team with a hot goaltender. That's my pick from the start. Just love the way they play. I'm sticking with Florida. I am. I'm sticking with Florida.
How do they beat the size and speed of the West? I agree with you guys. Obviously, my money's with Florida. I've been talking about that ticket that I have. I can't see them competing. I don't see them fast enough to play the West. I just can't see it. Especially after watching the last series against Tampa, it was so slow.
Tammy said, good evening, everybody. Good evening. Lorenzo said Vegas is hot. If you come out the King, you best not miss. Yeah, if you come after the King, you best not miss. I got to give Dallas credit. I didn't see Dallas coming back the way they did after losing those 2 games. I didn't. And I mean, look, right now, this series is 50-50 right now. I mean, look, if I had to pick a team, I'm going to pick Vegas. I am. But I'm going to tell you point blank, I'm not going to be surprised if Dallas wins this series. I'm just not.
Two games, you got to win 4.
Yep. That's exactly it. Brett said, hi, gentlemen, and Sean, good night for hockey. Yeah, it is always a good night. So let me tell you what I got here. I smoked some wings, and then I smoked some more wings, and then we already ate the andouille sausage, and then there's some Italian sausage, and then there's some macaroni bites, and then there's chips and salsa.
Okay.
We kind of went easy tonight.
Time out.
Yeah.
Did you run into the monkey bars again?
What did I do?
Wings.
Can we replay that?
What did I say?
You said we got wings.
Oh, did I say
And we
wings?
got more wings. So I thought you were messing, and then you went right to the Italian
I
sausage.
already
You
ate
named-
something before we got here.
Here. Ribs.
It's been a while since I brought edibles over.
Yeah. Get down. Jeez, oh, Pete. So lots of things. Tammy said great food for a hockey game. Tammy, it was great to see you. Hey, by the way, I put this out there for our buddies with the Pastor Foundation. You should check out some of the stuff that they have up for bid. Autographed jerseys from the guys that played both with Rangers and the Wings. Some great gift baskets from other places as well. So if you didn't get a chance to check that out, go check out that link. It's on my Facebook page. You'll see it all over the place, but some great stuff out there. 2-2, $1.18 left in this first period. Tammy said it was such a great event. It really was. It was great hockey. And I got to tell you guys, when Vladimir Konstantinov got on the ice on that sled, it was so unbelievably cool. I can't even put it into words. It really was. It was
Goosebumps.
Yeah, it really was. And you could see he was having a blast. And it's funny because his handlers, is that the best way to say it? They said usually he wants to take a nap in the afternoon and everything. He was so excited. He wanted to stay for the other game. He wanted to stay for the alumni game. And then he wanted to go to the after party as well. We had an after party at Cicerelli's place, or Cicerelli's old place. Now it's called something else, and I forget what. Oh, look, another penalty.
But again, we can't get on the penalties if you're going to grab the puck with your hand right off the face.
Can't do it.
It's just dumb.
You got to have a brain cell left there,
Yeah.
especially in the playoffs.
Tammy said it was so loud as well. I'm so happy his daughter came into town to watch, and he signed for the fans too after the game. Yes.
Oh, very cool.
There was these guys, and I want to give these guys a shout out, all these pros. They sat and signed for people for an hour and a half.
That's a long time.
It was
a long time.
Unbelievable. They all sat and signed for everybody there, and it just class acts across the board. Stay tuned. The next game, I don't know the date yet. I have a general idea, but I'm not allowed to say. The next game is going to be against Maple Leaf and Wings alumni, Maple Leaf alumni, and then I think the one after that is the Habs. I think the one after that
In
is
Montreal?
the Habs. We'll see. How's that? Tammy said, is it in Toronto? No, this one is going to be in Detroit. It's a rink to be determined, though. That's also a work in progress. It might be at Big Boy Arena, or it might be at another rink.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Something nearby.
Yes, as a matter of fact. Yes, where we live. Tammy said, oh, we need Domi. Well, the interesting thing about that, I know that he has been contacted and he has shown some interest. I don't know if I'm allowed to say some of the names that I've heard already, but I've heard. I'm going to say it anyway.
Go for it.
Why not?
You got to start drumming up some interest.
Wendell Clark,
Wendy.
Ty Domi, Tom Fergus. There's some other names too. I hope personally, for selfish reasons, Shane Corson.
Yeah.
As a big Shane Corson guy, so I hope for selfish reasons, Shane Corson. Ben said put that game at USA. Tammy said need to go to Plymouth. That would be cool. That would be really cool. Intermission. If you're just joining us, we're doing the same thing you are tonight. Just guys getting together. There are ribs here, and then more ribs, and then there's Italian sausage. We already ate the andouille sausage, some macaroni bites. So I want to throw some things out there just for the sake of hockey conversation. Who is the best team you've ever seen? The best team you've ever seen. And it doesn't mean that they had to have the most points. It doesn't mean that they had to have to me personally, there are three that can legitimately make an argument, but I'm going to ask you to pick one. And I think I'm going to surprise you with my answer. I really do. I think I'm going to surprise you with my answer. But who's the best team you've ever seen?
Oh,
You want me to go first?
go first. Go first.
Okay.
Edmonton.
Edmonton would have been in my trifecta. Edmonton 84 would have been my number three. That was when they had Fuhr and Moog, and Moog had to come in for Fuhr. Remember, Fuhr was injured. That team was a wagon. They learned their lessons from the year before. Number two, the 77 Habs. The 77 Habs.
So I'm already
with
surprised.
all those Hall of Famers, Ken Dryden, they had the big three on defense with Savard, Robinson, Lapointe, obviously Lemaire, Cournoyer, Lafleur, Schutt, all those guys up front. Honestly, though, that team that the Red Wings put together in 01-02, I can't argue against that team. I can't. If I'm being objective, and Lord knows I've been accused of being not objective in my life, okay? But that 01-02 team was an absolute wagon.
So that's whether they were. That was where I was stuck. But that was the first team that came to my head, and the first team because obviously they win, but just watching the construction of that team and those pieces fall into place, and it was like, get out of here.
Yep.
No way.
And it wasn't easy. If you're, the
Right.
Vancouver series,
No.
I still get shit for this to this day. I famously said the series was over when they lost the first two games in Detroit. Yep. I was on the radio. We were doing the post-game show, and I said to Mike Stone, this series is over, Stoney. Because, Vancouver outplayed them, too. It wasn't, oh, wow, lucky. But Vancouver outplayed them. And I thought, wow, the best team that money could buy, all of that. And this is what happens the first two games out at Joe Louis Arena.
So, in talking to, I think it was Dan Deneau we were talking to. And remember, I asked a question about the locker room at that moment. And they just knew. They said Steve Yzerman's speech was great and all. All he said was, we're good. We're fine. It's going to be a break. Something's going to happen. The series is going to turn our way. But they never lost the confidence. You look around that room, they still knew they were going to win that. Now, anything can happen, but the attitude they had, the confidence they had is that they knew they were going to win that series. And that gets into when you talk about the greatest teams to ever. They know.
Yep.
They just knew they were going to win that series.
They get that swagger and they just don't stray from it. Just don't stray away from it. They just keep it. They just keep going, and they know in their head that they're going to win. And it's the hardest thing to tell a kid or a person. We're still going to win. We're down 2-0. They believed, and that was all it took. Look what happened.
To get even just to stand there. Could anybody else coach that team?
No, there's no way. I can expound on that in a second because I was in the room a lot that year. It was a fascinating dynamic. Let me get some comments. Tammy said 84-85 Oilers for me. I picked the 84 version. It doesn't matter. You can pick either one of them. That team that learned their lesson from losing to the Islanders the year before, there was nobody in the world that was going to beat that team in the spring of 84. Nobody was going to beat that Oiler team. So if I had to pick one, I'd pick that Oiler team. Nick said, I was thinking the 02 Wings all-star team. That's my number one. Just in case you're just joining us, if I had a top three, which I do because I ordained it, I would go Edmonton 84. I'd go that Habs wagon in 77. They 68-12 was their record. 60 wins, 8 losses, 12 ties. Like, come on, are you kidding me? And I legitimately, I would go the 01-02 Red Wings. A couple other comments. Nick said everyone wanted to play for the Wings in 01-02. Joe said those mid-'80s Oiler teams were unfair. Right. Same thing. If you want to pick 85, go right ahead. I went with 84 because I think to knock off the Islanders in the drive for 5 was huge. Yes. I really do. I think that was huge.
But that was even one where we talk about the confidence that the 02 Wings had going down 2-0 against Vancouver. The story is walking out of the stadium the night they lost to the Islanders is when they knew, when they walked by, they were pissed. They wanted to get back on that ice. They wanted to go. And the Islanders were all iced up.
Isn't that great?
And they were limp. And they're
Isn't
like,
that great?
We got them.
Isn't that great?
We know, as great as that team was, that Islanders team was, 4 straight. You don't win 4 straight without being great. That Edmonton team knew that was their time. And the only thing that stopped them from doing the same thing and getting that 5th one was it Steve Smith?
Yep, 86. Well, there was a certain 20-year-old goaltender that nobody could beat that kid that spring. There's no doubt about that.
They would have loved to get a shot at.
Brett said Islanders 80, Bossy 50 and 50. It was the 9th season. That team impressed me fully. Bossy, Potvin, Trottier, and Billy Smith. Yeah, pretty hard to argue. I mean, they won 4 in a row, and that's another team that I think people forget they learned their lesson. Nobody gave the Rangers a chance a year before, and that veteran Ranger team knocked them off in 79 before they eventually fell to the Habs. Tim said another one to think about, like them or not, mid-90s Colorado. I will say this until my dying breath, because Lord knows people rib me for the Wings raining Patrick Wall with goals, okay? The famous Mario Tremblay thing. You don't have to take my word for it. Take the winningest coach word for it, Scotty Bowman. Scotty Bowman was terrified when Patrick Waugh got traded that he was going to go to Colorado. That is a 100% true story. And I know you and I talked about this before. I want you to think about this. Legitimately, how many more cups would the Wings had Patrick Waugh not went to Colorado? They would have won in 96. Nobody was beating them in 96. It wasn't going to happen. They would have eventually gone to the finals. They would have done the same thing to Florida that Colorado eventually did to Florida. Again, one can assume 97 and 98. Now, I'm not so sure about 99. They ran out of gas. I had a few guys tell me privately that they ran out of gas because they had played so much hockey. But really, how many more cups could the Wings have won? It would have been a fun thing to figure out.
I mean, they owned the 90s, if you think about it. I mean, the President's Cup, the wins, was it the 96 team?
Yep.
Yeah. That's another team that came to my head in the conversation of the best teams that we've seen. Best team. But at that moment, at that time, how much they dominated that season. But again, from 90 to 99, when you're saying they're running out of gas, they were running that show. And how, like your question is, how many more cups do they win?
It would have been interesting. Hubie brings up a good one. Underrated team, that Ducks team of 07. They could play any style you wanted to. I really liked that team. I did. I like that Ducks team. I remember what happened after that series is Mike Babcock's message. I probably heard this 100 times in 07, 08. Okay. And we didn't mean for this to happen, but learning a lesson comes into play. Mm-hmm. Mike Babcock's message in 07, 08, and they eventually won the Stanley Cup, was toughness is a choice. You make a choice. Do you want to be tough or do you not want to be tough? Because if you remember, Ducks kind of pushed him around a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Not a little bit. Ducks pushed him around that series. And that was something I remember, like, even before the season started, we went down there and he was talking about toughness being a choice. And that Red Wing team bought into that. Now, I'm going to say this again, not just because he's my boy. I think people forget, if the Red Wings didn't take Dominic Hasek out and put Chris Osgood in, they're not winning the cup. I mean, Chris Osgood saved their ass. He really did. But again, talk about learning a lesson. They got pushed around by the Ducks in that Western Conference final. And then, nobody was going to say that the team was tough, but they didn't get pushed around in 07, 08. You know what I mean?
No, I think they had, again, you can pick between what it is, grit, sandpaper, toughness. They had a little bit of sandpaper. They had a little bit of that. They weren't overly tough, but again, they did enough.
I think they remember getting pushed around, and they just pushed back a little bit, just enough to send that message saying, "Hey, this isn't the same team. We're not gonna take this crap that you guys are dishing out all the time. You know, we're gonna push back."
Look who's joining us. Are you familiar with this guy's work? JJ Bamberger.
Get out of here.
Are you familiar with JJ Bamberger?
Coach.
I seen him a couple of weeks ago at a ball game.
The coach, Saginaw Heritage, for those of you that don't know, JJ said there was a trade that didn't happen. Belfort for Primo cost the Wings a few cups. You know,
and some entertainment.
and some entertainment.
Oh yeah.
I think that the DPD might have been a little busy, but no, all jokes aside, no, it would have been interesting because that was the thing that people forget. I mean, so you had the Jacques teams that didn't have anywhere near the talent that the early 90s had. You had those Jacques teams that back-to-back years went to the conference finals. And everybody and their brother knew they weren't going to beat Edmonton. It wasn't going to happen. But just to go through the Norris and win those two series both years were great. And then you had the underachieving early 90s. You know, you had them losing to the Blues in the first round in 91, unceremoniously dumped in 92 to the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks swept them. Leafs, a team, in my opinion, they should have beat them in Game 7 in Detroit. I was at your house watching that. Borishevsky.
Oh,
Remember that whole thing? Then Jamie Baker in 94. You had a lot of talent with those teams, and yet for some reason they just couldn't get out of their own way come playoff time. It was amazing how that works out. 2-2 intermission. What are we doing? We're just talking hockey because that's what you guys are doing. So that's why we're here. I have another question. If you guys, if something comes into your mind, you do it. Best defenseman. I want to hear from you because no, and I'm serious why I say this. You're the elder statesman, and I say that with respect, okay? I refuse to include guys that I didn't see, okay? So when somebody says to me, who's the best defenseman you ever saw? I say Nick Lidstrom without hesitation. And somebody will go, well, I can't believe you're seeing Bobby Orr. The Bobby Orr that I saw was the broken down Bobby Orr.
Yeah.
I did not see Bobby Orr in his prime. Right. You're a few years older than us, so I'm guessing you have a little taste of what Orr was?
A little taste of Bobby Orr, but I'd say Lidstrom was better just because I was too young to really understand Bobby Orr back in the day. One of my favorites is Larry Robinson. I'm telling you, he was steady as all get out. He wasn't flashy, and he was there all the time.
You know what? So, you know what's great about him is okay in the late 70s. If you remember, he could do those end-to-end rushes.
Yeah.
And then later in his career, like I remember the run in 89 that fell short, Calgary beat him. He was good for one of those a game. Yeah. Like that was it. Like you knew, okay, Larry's going to make a run. He's 38 years old.
Pick his spot.
He's going to pick his spot, and he could still do the Larry Robinson, but he couldn't do it on command like he could earlier. I love Larry. If I was to say who's the most complete defenseman of all time, I would pick Larry Robinson without hesitation. With zero hesitation. He can go beat the hell out of you. Ask Dave the Hammer Schultz. He can crush you into the boards. He can make a great defensive play. He can make a great play in the attacking zone. Nick Lidstrom was just his brain.
Cerebral.
Everything. He was everywhere. He was everywhere.
Right place at the right time. You could, as Dan Deneau said, you could put anybody with them, and they were going to be a plus 38 with them. But that when I hear that question, that it goes in so many different ways. You can look at the complete defenseman of Larry Robinson. You can look at the cerebral in the right spot at the right time. I can put him out there at any time and not worry about Lidstrom. Then you have your offensive defenseman. You've got your Coffey, your Niedermeyer, and I'm going to put Cal McCarr in there right now.
You have to.
Guy's unbelievable.
You have to.
Now, yeah.
You have to.
But then there's the presence of a Scott Stevens that changed the game when he was on the ice. He made room for his team.
Who's next?
And then made room for guys on his team, and then took room away from the other team.
Yeah.
I mean, that hit single-handedly shut the Wings down
over.
in 95.
It was over.
Yeah. So there's so many different aspects of a defenseman to just pick one. I mean, Lidstrom in our backyard, easy. I'm going to go with Scott Niedermeyer. Love Scott Niedermeyer's game. And he was cerebral. He was fast. He was smart. He wasn't big and physical. That's not going to be his game. No. But I'll tell you what. I heard a quote about him. He'd play 52 minutes and not sweat, and still go back. He could play all game, all day.
Here's a question for you.
All right.
Would Konstantinov been in this conversation
100%.
that accident would have happened.
Would I have put him top 5? Probably not. Would you make an argument that he was in the general vicinity?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you've got to give him 10 more years.
Yes.
So at that moment, he was up and coming, and his name was going to be in that Norris conversation
The way he
coming
played,
up.
though, could he have played 10 more years?
No, it's a
Record-
great question.
And now he was older though, wasn't he?
Yeah,
too?
Yes.
he was.
He was not. He
older-
was not. He was.
No, I'm old. I had to
TV
stand
one
up.
That's TV
No, it
one.
wasn't me. Here's I'm glad that Tim brought this name up because there are two guys to me, not so much the first guy I'm going to mention, but the guy that Tim mentioned that I think are chronically forgotten. And I'm serious. I hated this son of a bitch. And then I got to the point where I was like, gosh damn, he's so Ray Bork.
Oh,
Ray Bork was phenomenal. Ray
You
Bork
put-
was
Would you
phenomenal.
put him in the Lidstrom category of he wasn't going to kill you? He was very cerebral. He was going to be in the right place to do
Yes.
the right thing, make the right play. If you needed an outlet pass,
First
Ray
guy
Bork
in,
was gonna
first
get it.
guy back. I saw it way too many times in my gosh damn life. I saw him beat the Habs, son of a bitch. And then Tim brought up Denny Potvin.
Oh,
Chronically underrated, almost
Right.
forgotten, right?
captain of the Islanders.
we just had a conversation about it. Forgot we were talking about guys that were great, but no one talks about. Phil House.
Yes.
We had a conversation.
Tremendous.
Phil Housley.
American
American
defenseman. Absolutely. Brett said, okay, Sean, you're one of my favorite hockey guys. Thank you. What happens to Tampa after they win that first cup? If the salary cap doesn't come out, would they have won 2, 3 more cup without the lockout? Yes. Yes. That 04 Lightning team was a wagon. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It hurt them. I can't believe he lost his mask.
There's
Brett said Chara and Pronger are both
Pronger.
studs for me. There's another one.
Pronger's
There's another one. My goodness.
another- Brian Leach
Tremendous.
from the
Tremendous.
Rangers.
Yeah, tremendous. Tremendous. Yeah. No, it's so funny. So years ago when I was working for the Whalers in the Ontario Hockey League, I actually did this for our Ice Time show. And I think I told you, Mike, I did this. Kirk, I don't know if I ever told you this. I was at a game where there were a whole bunch of NHL scouts in the building. It was the year that Taylor Hall, Tyler Seguin. Taylor.
Yeah.
Which was completely made up because everybody and their brother knew that Taylor Hall was going to go number 1. I mean, so it was a great marketing ploy. Like everybody jumped on it, but everybody knew that Taylor Hall was going to go number 1. And that's no disrespect to Tyler Seguin. But it was a game against Windsor, and there were like everybody was at the rink, right? And I made a point to go up to all of the pro scouts.
Okay.
And I said, if I say Nick Lidstrom to you, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Okay. And I'm not joking. I asked 30 guys, and every one of them either used brain, intelligence, cerebral, chess, something like that. It was like, and who were we talking to that brought that up to us? He was like, every time I was on the ice, it was during one of the What the Puck segments. He goes, every time I was on the ice, he like mind bleeped me.
Was it Dan? We talked to Dan though. He was talking because he played with Lidstrom.
Was it Dan
I
Deneau?
think it was. I think it was because it was one of the wings that were. So it would have been him, or it would have been Ward.
I don't remember who it
I
was.
want to say it was.
But one of the guys was like, literally every time I was on the ice with the guy, he mind bleeped me. He was like, I thought I had space, I didn't. You know, he was like, he was always one step ahead of me. He was
a
just
ninja.
yeah. I mean, just I mean, that was the beauty of a guy like that. Tim said Vladdy might have been up there with Chris Chelios. Antagonizer. Still remember Mickey said he gave the Blues a half a peace sign. What might have been? Well, there's another guy. Chris Chelios was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like I know people cheap shot Chelios, and you know the Chelios that we saw here on the back end of his career wasn't like the Chris Chelios, although I think people forget how good he was his first few years here, especially considering a guy that was into his 40s. But he's another guy. He was phenomenal. He really was.
And he could score. He could do
Mhm.
a little bit of everything. He was going to get under your skin. He was
How
gonna
long did he
physical.
play?
72.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Our buddy Blake said, "Hey, if you're watching right now, could you do us a favor? Could you go to the What the Puck WUT What the Puck Facebook page and like it? Could you do that? That would be really nice. Look, Blake's even highlighting it for you in the chat. All right, there, Blake. I remembered. Thank you for the reminder. Just go to What the Puck and like it. We want to be able to stream from that page as opposed to this page. And so that way we can keep doing things. Mike and I are going to keep doing this. We're going to get some guests on from the NHL. We're going to be talking all kinds of hockey. I know we're going to be doing a high school hockey thing coming up as well. So stay tuned for that. There's a lot going on. Game 5 winner wins the series 79% of the time if the series is tied 2 apiece. I don't know if you guys saw that stat that just
I
came up.
wonder how much that goes up if Game 5 winner is the road team.
It's a good
to go
question.
home, or how much that inflates that to 79%.
Well, you know
Good
what?
point.
It's funny. Now here, you know what I'm thinking about?
Math.
I'm thinking about the 0-2 Red Wings now. When they
Yep.
lost at home in Game 5, come on, admit it. Didn't everybody think that the series was over?
Yes.
Didn't everybody think
Yeah.
that series was over?
I mean, again, as you said, it wasn't easy for them. That was a team that we were expecting. They'll win. Look at all the Hall of Famers. It's all going to be great. They go down real quick to Vancouver. Now they're down. They lose game.
That was twice.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah.
over. I did. Wait, I when we were doing that pregame show in 0-2, it was like, I'm not joking. It was like a postmortem. Because, I mean, there was they weren't going to beat Colorado in Colorado. That wasn't going to happen. Are you kidding me? JJ said Ray Bourque has to be one of the coach's favorites. He was. I said it a few minutes ago, JJ. I think he's forgotten. I really do. When we have these types of conversations, I don't think the name Ray Bourque comes up enough because, listen, at the end of his career, it kind of became a circus. The whole "let's get Ray a cup."
Yeah.
That's how I was just
And he
gonna go
wasn't
there.
Ray Bourque anymore.
He wasn't Ray Bourque
anymore.
Is his name spoken a different manner if he wins a couple cups in Boston?
Yes.
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 I mean, it's
Most
huge.
definitely.
It's
Mhm.
huge. And so we all have recency bias. You go by the last thing you see, and he was a shell of himself that needed to go to Colorado to win that cup.
Yep.
And that
And
was
they
the only
shouldn't have
place-
won that cup.
No, we shouldn't have.
They
only
should
place
not
he
have
would have
won
gone
that
to win it.
Yeah. You know what's really funny? So I was actually talking to Chris Nyland about some of that stuff because I don't, for people out there that don't, the Habs had the Bruins number for like 45 years. Bruins couldn't beat them. Then Nyland gets traded to Rangers and Bruins finally beat him and then beat him again in 90 and then beat him again in 91. And then in 92, this is a true story, Kirk. I know 2 guys that had tickets to go see Game 5 of a series in the first round or in the second round. I know 2 guys that had tickets to go to Game 5 at the Montreal Forum. And the Bruins, without Cam Neely, I might add, who was injured, the Bruins swept the Habs. Swept them. And Ray Bourque was unconscious that series. He was unconscious that
When he was
series.
in his prime.
Yeah, and
Do you remember? But do you, going back to, and I don't have the greatest of memories, so I know you'll remember this. Do you remember that day that Mr. Illich walked into the Little Caesars and handed us those tickets
it was so
and
kind.
said, "Sean,
It was so
as
kind.
being employee of the month for Little Caesars, I would like to award you with
True
these
story.
tickets to Game 5."
True story.
Unbelievable, Mr. And gas money.
Yes,
And
it
gas
was amazing how that worked itself out. Well, the one time we did go, you know who got us tickets?
Mr. Illich.
No, we Phil Meir. Got it. You remember that?
Former goalie.
Yeah, former goalie, longtime Red Wing coach.
Yeah.
And I never got a chance to thank him until this past Saturday. Like literally, and I brought it up to him. Well, he got it through Mitchell. He got it through Adam Mitchell. Yeah.
I had no idea.
At Adam, because I told Adam I was going, and Adam, you're an idiot. What are you going to buy tickets for? Like I'm going to make a phone call. Yeah, I was probably called idiot by that man almost as much as my father. But Phil got us tickets.
I can picture him saying that.
And it was funny because like when I brought it up to Phil, I said, hey Phil, I never had a chance to tell you, but thanks. He gave me a look like, what are you talking about? And the funny thing is, he actually remembered it too. He was like, he goes, yeah, I remember it. Like Adam, he goes, it was like a Saturday night against Boston. I was like, that's exactly what it was. And we got to see the Habs crush Boston.
That was a good Saturday night in Montreal. It was a good Friday night in Montreal too.
What I remember of it, I remember a taxi drive, and that was what
you just remember what Mike told you.
That well, you know what it is. That's what the puck after hours. We'll share that. That's like what the puck after hours. We'll share
French.
I ran into the French Terminator at about 5:00 in the morning. Legitimately, 5:00 and all right, I'm telling that story. We can tell that story. So listen, it's about 5:00 in the morning, and we've literally been drinking since 6. All right. And don't tell anybody. There's some bars that are open there late at night. And we stopped at the beer store and we got some cases, and we are just out of control. And for you kids out there, I sound like Don Cherry. You kids out there, listen. Back in the day, see, no, they had a giant silver ashtray in the hallway.
Kids don't know what ashtray is.
Like a giant silver ashtray because you could smoke in public. And so at about 4:45 in the morning, I decided that I won De La Coupe Stanley. And I went and grabbed the ashtray and I dumped all the ashes out in the hallway. And I was running around the whole floor of the hotel like this, with De La Coupe Stanley over my head.
Hoisting the cup.
Yeah, hoisting the cup. And then, now think about this. All 3 of us are jumping up on the bed yelling, Coupe Stanley, Coupe Stanley. Knock, knock, knock on the door, okay? And this cop comes in. Look at that. This cop comes in with that heavy, thick French accent, and he goes, what do you think you are doing? And I go, we just won the Stanley Cup. And he just shakes his head and calm down and get quiet. I will be back. And I'm hammered, right? And I go, true story. Who the bleep for you? The French Terminator?
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. So legitimately at that point in time, he should have kicked us out, right? I mean, right then he should have kicked us out. We did. We scared him away. He literally. Yeah, he did. He just
going to intermission. Referee did this.
Mm-hmm.
Are they giving him a 5?
I didn't.
That's what he was doing. This.
That's what he's indicating.
Giving high fives, or he's giving him 5.
It might be. Let's see. Brett said Bork, I think, pushed the Avs to that cup when he went there. It wasn't his skill. It was his presence. Well, there's something to be said about like Ray Bork being Ray Bork. He's another guy. When you talk about respected players, there is a
aura.
Yeah. There's like a reverence for him. You know the Joe Sakic story, right? Do you know the Sean Avery, Joe Sakic
chirping
story?
at him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do not disrespect Mr. Sakic.
Mr. Sakic.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Yes.
I mean that's the respect that a guy like Joe Sakic had, around the league. For those of you that don't know, true story, Sean Avery was chirping at Joe Sakic. And a couple of the veterans on the team, it was Brett Hull in particular, kind of looked at him and said, kid, we do not disrespect Mr. Sakic. How cool is that? That's a crazy thing about at the height of the Red Wing Colorado Avalanche rivalry, there were a couple guys on the team. Like honestly, how can you hate on Steve Yzerman? Like really? And Joe Sakic. How could you How could you hate Joe Sakic is the most vanilla human being that ever like walked the face of the planet. He doesn't say anything, you know?
He's the Steve Eisner of the Colorado Avalanche.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them.
Here you go.
Got to see this. What
Let's see.
he's going to say? He hits him from behind. He's going to say he turns into him. Oh, he's saying he missed him.
He missed. Head contact.
No, it's two.
2
Oh,
minutes.
it's only 2.
minutes.
That,
So he was just giving high five.
that goon, Tyler Sagan, right? That absolute goon. Ben said the guys you hated were Forsberg, Waugh, Claude, and Foote. I absolutely loved. I've always been somebody I would like to believe I can separate my disdain for a guy and my respect for the guy. I would go to war with Peter Forsberg every single day. I loved Peter Forsberg.
I agree with that.
Loved Peter
You would have
Forsberg.
loved to have him on the Red Wings.
Oh my goodness
Oh.
gracious! I loved Peter.
But
Forsberg.
all those guys that
But you hate him. Ben, you're not
play
wrong.
with tenacity, score. Everyone hates them, but they'll take them out of team.
No, yeah.
As quick as they wanted to throw stuff at Chelios, they hugged them and opened their arms for
Yeah.
it. And I always said that was Lemieux. That I would take Lemieux on my team anytime, especially in the playoffs.
in the playoffs.
Especially in the playoffs.
We don't want him in
Yeah.
the regular season.
Keep him down.
Trust me, I saw him bark so many times in Montreal. It was insane.
Keep him down at Grand Rapids till playoffs.
Right,
Bring him up.
right. No, but listen, Forsberg, though, I mean, like that story in the 0-1 playoff of him laying in the bathtub, okay? And they were like, we're calling the doctor. No, you're not calling the doctor and everything. And what was it?
Spleen.
His spleen.
Spleen,
His
yeah.
spleen.
But didn't he have foot problems?
He had a ruptured spleen.
Yeah.
No, it's great. They played the damn game with a rip. They had to take his spleen out after the freaking game. Nuts.
You die.
Yeah,
You die.
he's literally dying in the bathtub, right? I'm fine. Don't call the doctor,
Like
right?
an urban legend.
We got that. Yeah, it's not an urban legend. Look it up. I'm not that is not an urban legend. You can look that up. The man's literally dying in his hotel like bathtub. No, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. Okay. They literally go get the trainers and they're like, we got to get him to the hospital like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Like that. They removed the man's spleen. He missed the whole damn playoff. It's insane when you think about it. Let's see.
It's your typical hockey player.
Buffet said, you going to eat the rest of that food? Both open invite. Where? Come on, man. Look at, we got some ribs here. I got some Italian sausage here. We already ate the andouille sausage. I'm sorry. I have a big old pork butt.
Challenge.
Yeah, get in there. Get in there, Mike. I have a big old pork butt for you both when you get your ass over here, all right? Deal? I know that's your jam. He likes his full pork. And we'll do some short ribs for you, okay? Let's see. Brett said, Peter Forsberg, my favorite player. Tom said, you should put out some plastic on those sofas. We probably should.
I got 2 dogs.
Legitimate.
You got 2 dogs.
Blake said the food stinks. Of course he
Of course.
did. That's his
What
bit.
would you expect?
JJ said, oh, I got an answer for this one. I guarantee you right now, JJ, before I answer the question, are you ready? I guarantee you that Mike will say the same name that I do.
Ooh.
I know my pal so well. I guarantee you. I guarantee
He
you
knows my memory, though. I can't.
that Mike will say
can't
the same
remember.
name. No, listen.
Okay.
I guarantee you're going to say the same name as I. Are you ready? Here's JJ's question. I want you to go first. Game 7, overtime breakaway. Who do you want with the puck? I told you I was right. I told you I was. I know who you're going to say, so just drop it. Who do you want with
Who
the
do I
puck?
want?
You want me to go first?
I'll go. I'd say Patrick Kane.
Okay. All right. Mike is going to say the same name that I am, Mario Lemieux. Mario Lemieux, right? Am I right?
Yes.
That reach, that move that he put
Yeah.
on John Casey, like, and with all the Bob Cole, like, what a goal, what a move. Yeah, I mean, just classic Mario when he got that stick out in front of him with that reach, because you didn't realize how long it was.
Like
And
14 feet.
yeah, and I asked guys that played against him, and that's what they always said. They were always, he'd like hypnotize you because he was so wide and he had that reach in front of him that it was
And
unstoppable.
if you tried to sit back in your net to take that away from him, he's going to bury it.
Very ups- yeah.
And when you ask a question like that, you find out real quick who you think the best players are that played the game. Right? You're talking game 7, breakaway, you need a goal.
Merritt.
And I go from back to cancer, the time that he's missed. You know where I hold him.
Like I tell everybody all the time, when he came back, forget about that. When he retired and he came back and played in the early aughts, his numbers were sick. This is a guy that sat out the league for 4 years. He was unconscious. He really was. There was something wrong with that guy. He was absolutely phenomenal.
Here's one that sticks in my head: is Oshie in the Olympics. What was he, 5 in a row, 7 in a row,
incredible.
something like that?
Oh, Ben
just kept going around.
A couple guys said Datsuk.
Yeah.
Pretty hard to argue with that. Let me see. JJ said Mario. Yep, JJ said Mario.
JJ was a scorer back in the day.
Let's talk about JJ's
We want
scoring
JJ.
ability.
Yeah, JJ played juniors here for Kyle Krug at it was the old Redford Royals, and it was I think it was Nace at the time, owned by a computer guy, and then we left there, coached with Kyle. We went to the junior wings. We traded for JJ, and he went on to play in Paris.
All right,
And
since
making deals.
Then I still see him.
Since we're giving some shout outs, JJ asked, who do you want on the breakaway? Who do I want the facilitator that's going to get that guy the puck? I'm going to go with Mark Beaufet. How's that?
The facilitator.
The facilitator. He can draw everybody in, and then he can get the puck to the guy who's going to score the big goal.
Speed he has.
That's exactly what both did in that. What was it? The 52nd overtime against, was it 52nd?
50,
Both remind me. Was it the 52nd overtime
Yeah.
against BU? But no, listen. I mean that's the beauty of it is you need that guy that can get you the puck too. That
Suk was one of them.
Oh boy, he could, and there's no doubt
He would
about
just
it.
hold
He
on to it
hypnotized you
until
too.
the 2 seconds too late, and he'd still make that
You
pass.
tell me you're not hypnotized.
Ben said Mario's a good call. He was the original Highlander. It was unbelievable. Hubie said MBS for everything.
Oh, yes.
That was Mikhail Bossy Samuelson. Boy, Hubie, I don't even, was it an M Live story? Remember they used to have those chats? And somebody said very early in Mikhail Samuelson's career that he reminds me of Mike Bossy. And I literally, remind me never to read anything that ever comes out of your pie hole again. When you say something like that, all right, well, with that,
Maybe because they both shot right-handed.
the best goal scorer you've ever seen. Because I just mentioned him. That's why it popped in my brain. I'll still take Bossy. Much respect to Ovi. I'll still take Mike Bossy. I will still take Mike
And
Bossy.
respect the Hall.
Yes, I'll still take Mike Bossy.
Yeah.
I will. I'll still take Mike. He was phenomenal. The guy just knew how to put the puck in the net.
So, do either of you two feel dirty that we just talked about Game 7 breakaway? Who do you want? And pure goal scorer, who do you want? And Wayne Gretzky's name hasn't even came up.
Isn't that amazing?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, because the facilitators, both.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
what
gonna
I'm
be
doing.
Gretzky.
That's what I'm doing. Well, I saw him do it on the biggest stage, okay? He's my buddy, but I mean, let's face it. I mean, he did it on the biggest save in the 52nd overtime of an NC2A championship game, right?
Oh,
You know who's
And then
phenomenal? All right, and so I'm showing my Habs bias. Little Matt Snaz. Do you remember the one? I still remember back when I used to watch the All-Star game. He and Mario Lemieux played on the same line, and it was unfair. It was because Nazla knew how to get the puck to you, and Mario could finish, and it was legitimately unfair. Just like my Larry Murphy,
right.
right? Mario, Wayne, Larry Murphy on the trail. Murph, you're not touching the puck. Thanks for your effort. I'm glad that you jumped up. Even the defenseman's not paying any attention to you. I mean, it's Wayne. Sorry.
Don't hold your breath waiting for the puck.
What do you want me to do here? Jeez, oh Pete. All right. Anything else? Did we? Okay. You guys know my feelings. I'll put it to you this way. For a 7-year period, about 7, 8 years, maybe 94 to 02. So we'll call it 8. Dominik Hasek was on another planet. He just was. And I know I told the story on What the Puck of watching him save penalty shot after penalty shot after penalty shot at a Red Wings practice when Shanahan and Hall and Robitaille and Yzerman and Fedorov were all there, okay? 94 to 02, Dominik Hasek was unbelievable. What I think people forget is early in his career, he was a backup 2 different times, right? And later in his career, he wasn't the dominator anymore. Again, Osgood took his job in 08. So I say that with this. That's why I take Patrick Waugh. That's why I take Patrick Waugh. There's one guy that won 3 Conn Smythe trophies, an award that's been out since 65. Only one guy won 3 Conn Smythe trophies. I watched Patrick Waugh take 2, not 1, 2 less than Hab teams and put him on his shoulder and go win a Stanley Cup with him. That's why I take Patrick Waugh. And this is where you can call me biased. You're more than welcome to call me biased now. Patty Waugh just in money time just found a way more often than not.
If they're going to call you biased, they've got to have an argument back. And the closest argument could be Brodeur.
Brodeur, yeah.
Yes.
But I take Waugh. We've had this conversation, but I take Waugh for everything that you had said.
Tim said Ken Dryden. Pretty hard to go against Ken Dryden and what he did his rookie year coming out of Cornell. Patrick Waugh was 20 with a very average Montreal team. And he was unconscious.
That team was
He was unconscious. Blake said Timo Pulkkinen. Do you remember when he was going to be the next great Red Wing player? Do you remember that? Those were good days.
But there's always one. There's
always one.
Boy, that was a pretty bad era when you think about it. Like really, I mean, that whole at the tail end of the streak to really, you could say legitimately this year. How many wait till this guy, Anthony Mantha. Do you know how many checks people wrote for Anthony Mantha?
Yeah.
And people started going crazy about Timu. And I remember, I'm not going to say who, somebody in the media was telling me about how good Thomas Tatar was going to be. And I just went, okay.
Yeah.
You're right. I never saw him. So I saw him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not to disparage him, NHL player and everything, but in this town, in that period, I think a lot of people overrated the talent here, and I'll leave it at that. Mikhail Samuelsson.
What I was looking for is I had a tweet sent via text to me, and it was a past Wings lineup just to show just how bad it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was unbelievable. I don't have it. I deleted it, but it was I can't even tell you the year that it was, but oh boy, we got to get some shots on net from Wyatt right here.
As JJ was saying, Ken Dryden played on the only undefeated college hockey team with Cornell. It won't ever happen again. Now think about that. Back then, a college kid from the Big Red goes to the NHL and knocks off the defending Stanley Cup champion Boston Bruins and put a hex on him. And I remember I had Phil Esposito in studio, and the first thing he said to me, and it was probably this hat 20 years ago, he said to me, he looked at me and he goes, bleep the Habs, except I'll let you guess. I'll let you guess what the word was. And then he said to me, he goes, that gosh damn Ken Dryden was like an octopus. He goes, arms and legs. It was like he had 4 arms and 4 legs. He was so long and everything, you know. But it's a true story. That's what Espo said to him. He goes, he was like an octopus. So, yeah. All right. He said, can I finish my burger first, Blake? Because I told him we were going to get going. And then he said 7 minutes. Blake, you're the best. Yeah,
We can take you 7 minutes to eat a burger.
Yeah, listen, we still got to. Both, where are you at, dude? I know both said deal, and he's going to come over. But look I got so many ribs left over. I got a hot Italian sausage. Sorry we ate the short ribs. Sorry we ate the andouille, but I promise you, we got. And JJ, you get your butt over here too. We're going to do this all throughout the playoffs. Don't worry, we're going to catch up with some of the guys that I know from the NHL as well, and talk some playoffs with them in the upcoming weeks. Jason said, is the answer Jesus? Yes. Yeah, you could say that. But no, we're going to be doing a few more of these because this is like, I have no other way to say it. We do this often.
Yes. This is what we do.
We really do. We do this often. All right. Is there anything else before we get out of here that we need to talk about? Okay. Wayne or Mario?
Mario,
Mario.
without a doubt.
Mario.
I've stood by that and I've said that.
Mhm.
And I'll take, and they're just two unbelievable players. I always feel like I have to say there's no, I'm not saying Gretzky's the great one for a reason. If you take all of his goals away, he still has the most points. I get it. But what I saw on the ice was a whole different level when it was Mario.
Brett said, is Timu the greatest rookie of all time? For him to score 76 goals on that team is insane.
In Winnipeg.
Because not enough is said about that. That was not a loaded Winnipeg team at all. That was not a loaded Winnipeg team at all. Pretty hard to argue. Now, again, if you want to talk about a guy coming in, I mean, we mentioned Ken Dryden, we mentioned Patrick Watt, Cam Ward coming in and saving the Hurricanes that year in 2006 and winning the Conn Smythe at 20 while I was younger. But yeah, that you could make an argument for guys that got it done. But if you're talking about like regular season, the guy scored 76 goals playing for a shit team.
How old was Solani when he was a rookie?
Really no supporting cast.
He was 23. Look that up.
He was older. I know he was older.
I'm almost positive he's 23. Look it up for me. All right. Before we get out of here, Blake, is there anything else that we have to say? Oh, go like What the Puck. Go like the YouTube page, please. So there are like right now 248 of you just enjoying. I wish you could all come over my house, like and everything, but you can't. So the next best thing is we're going to be doing this during the Stanley Cup playoffs a little bit. How old was he? 23?
22.
He was 22?
He was 22, so he could have been. I didn't get his birth date, but they said by the time he started in the NHL, he was 22.
Yeah.
I know he was a holdup because he was in the Finnish army. Or
Yeah.
so there was
Yeah.
tie up there.
All right, so we're going to get out of here now. We're going to watch the rest of this game. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll probably do this again sooner rather than later. We do this all the time. It's the gosh damn truth. But anyway, Blake, thank you. Kirk, thank you. Mike, thank you. Thank you, most importantly, for joining us. We'll see you soon. Later.
What the Puck, featuring Sean Belegian. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Matrazek. Executive produced by Sean Belegian and Todd Losey. Theme song and incidental music by Elliot Middleton. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe to What the Puck on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.